You're making a huge mistake if you're still building shallow raised beds and expecting them to produce like full-acre fields. Most gardeners never think beyond the surface, and what happens? Plants struggle, yields stagnate, and every season feels like a battle with soil that should be working for you. If you want real results, you need to understand how Amish gardeners maximize every inch of space. And yes, these methods actually triple what your garden can produce without adding more ground. Stick around and I'll show you exactly how to apply these techniques in your backyard, raised beds, or even in hydroponic setups. And if you care about precision, grab a soil meter like the 5-in-1 Earth Scout Soil Cub. Link is in the description because it will tell you what's really happening below the surface. Amish gardeners don't just pile dirt, they layer it to multiply results. The first secret is layering your beds instead of mixing everything into a single heap. Traditional advice tells you to just dump compost and topsoil, but that ignores how nutrients move and how water drains. Amish beds start with a base of coarse material, twigs, small branches, straw, about 3 to 4 inches deep. This creates an internal drainage system that prevents roots from sitting in waterlogged soil. On top of that, they add alternating layers of green material like grass clippings or kitchen scraps, and brown material like shredded leaves or cardboard, each layer about 1 to 2 inches thick. This layering creates a living, breathing compost right in your raised bed. Over time, the decomposition generates heat and feeds microbes, and you're essentially creating a deep, fertile mattress for your plants. In small backyard gardens, this means you can stack beds 2 to 3 feet high and grow root vegetables that would normally need more space. So you need more depth than you think, even for greens. Most gardeners stick to a foot of soil and think it's enough. It's not. Even leafy greens benefit from deeper roots, especially if you're using succession planting to maximize space. Amish gardeners build beds at least 18 to 24 inches deep, sometimes even 3 feet. That extra depth allows you to plant in tight rows without crowding roots, and it prevents stress during hot or dry periods. For hydroponic or soilless beds, mimic this by layering cocoa coir, perlite and compost in the same proportions. Media Group hands layering cocoa coir, compost and perlite in a container. Ingredients for soilless gardening: cocoa coir, compost, perlite. Laid out on a table, you stock and distribute as equally roughly 50% coir, 30% compost and 20% perlite. This gives your plants the same structure as deep raised beds and dramatically increases space efficiency. Use square foot planning, but actually think in cubic feet. Here's where most people go wrong. They plan their garden in square feet but ignore depth. Amish gardeners always think in cubic feet because the root zone is 3-dimensional. You can fit twice as many plants if you consider vertical space and root volume. For example, instead of planting a single row of carrots in a 1-foot deep bed, stagger them in 2 layers using raised ridges. With greens like kale or spinach, layer short root varieties above slightly deeper ones in a gentle pyramid. In practice, this allows you to grow more without expanding your footprint. It's why small beds in Amish homesteads produce the same as larger conventional plots. Never underestimate soil amendments. Biochar is a game changer. Amish gardeners didn't have chemical fertilizers, but they knew the power of amendments. One trick that modern gardeners often miss is adding biochar at about 5% by volume to every bed. Mix it thoroughly into the top 6 inches of soil. Biochar retains nutrients, improves water retention, and fosters microbial life. In a small backyard bed, a single cup per square foot might not sound like much, but after a season, you'll see reduced watering needs and more vigorous plants. Pairing biochar with traditional compost layers essentially turbocharges your soil. If you want precision, that Earth Scout Soil Cub I mentioned earlier can measure moisture and electroconductivity, letting you see exactly how your amendments are affecting nutrient availability. Planting in guilds instead of rows multiplies your space. Another major secret is polyculture. Most gardeners still plant in long rows, which wastes a ton of space. Amish Raised beds mix compatible plants together. Deep-rooted, shallow-rooted, and nitrogen-fixing varieties in one bed. For instance, plant bush beans alongside carrots and kale. The beans add nitrogen, the kale shades the soil and reduces evaporation, and carrots use the space between stems. The result is more yield per square foot, healthier plants, and less work overall. This approach can triple what you grow in a bed without increasing size if you do it correctly. The key is timing and spacing, stagger plantings, rotate species, and always leave enough sunlight for taller crops while underplanting with shorter ones. Don't forget the edges. They're free growing space. One of the simplest secrets is almost never mentioned. Bed edges are productive if you treat them right. Most gardeners leave a foot around the sides bare, but Amish gardeners plant low-growing herbs, strawberries, or lettuce right at the edges. These plants benefit from the extra warmth radiating from the bed's soil mass, and you're using space that normally goes wasted. For smaller gardens, edge planting is critical. I've personally doubled lettuce yields in tiny beds just by taking advantage of edges. Even in raised hydroponic beds, you can use the margins for shallow root plants or companion species. Invest in tools that tell you what's really happening. That's why I keep my 5-in-1 Earth Scout Soil Cub on hand. It measures moisture, temperature, salinity, air temperature, and humidity all in one reading. You don't guess anymore. You can insert it vertically or horizontally, and even test at multiple depths, which is crucial for layered beds. It's especially useful if you're trying biochar or compost mixes and want to track how fast nutrients are available. The link is in the description, and I highly recommend grabbing one before your next planting season. It's not flashy, but it's one of the tools that separates a hobby gardener from someone who consistently triples yields. Applying these secrets in a backyard or hydroponic setup. To put it all together, here's a practical example. Start with a 4x8 foot raised bed. Layer 3 inches of twigs and straw at the bottom. Add alternating layers of green and brown material, each about 1 to 2 inches, until you reach 18 to 24 inches. Mix in 5% biochar in the top 6 inches. Plant using guild principles, nitrogen-fixing beans interspersed with shallow root carrots and leafy greens. Use edges for strawberries and herbs. Check soil moisture and EC with your Earth Scout meter weekly. After a season, you'll see not just more plants, but healthier plants, faster growth, and more consistent yields. In hydroponic setups, replicate the same layering with cocoa coir, perlite, and compost, staggering root depths to maximize vertical and horizontal space. These 6 Amish secrets aren't trendy hacks. They're practical, tested strategies. They aren't easy shortcuts. They require planning, attention, and sometimes heavy lifting, but the results speak for themselves. You don't need a bigger yard, just smarter beds. If you want to keep learning strategies that actually increase your garden's output, make sure to subscribe to Farm Logic. We're not about fluff, we're about results that you can apply tomorrow. Share this video with your gardening friends who are tired of mediocre yields and want to see real improvements. And check the description for links to the 5-in-1 Earth Scout Soil Cub and other products I personally use to monitor, adjust, and maximize soil performance. Every serious gardener needs data. They're the difference between guessing and growing consistently. So go ahead, apply these secrets, layer your beds like a pro, plant smarter, and watch your space.